Okay, so get this. North Korean hackers
Oh, wow.
are using Flutter to create malware.
Really?
Yeah, targeting macOS.
Huh. That's interesting.
And it's really kind of wild because Flutter's usually associated with, harmless app development.
Right. Yeah. Usually for like cross-platform stuff.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
use it to make apps that run on like iOS,
Mhm.
Android, Windows, all that. And it uses Dart, which is a
Right.
programming language. Also not really known for anything malicious.
No, not at all. And this is all based on some analysis by Jam Threat Labs.
Yeah.
They found artifacts on VirusTotal, and basically, we're going to do a deep dive into all this. Like, how does this even work? Why is it significant? And what does it say about the evolving threat landscape, right?
Yeah. It's wild how these things keep changing.
It really is.
So to start, maybe we can talk a bit more about what Flutter is.
Yeah, let's do that. So for folks who might not know, Flutter is, like you said, a framework for building apps, cross-platform. It uses a language called Dart, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's known for being pretty efficient, pretty user-friendly for developers.
Yeah, a lot of people like working with it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty unexpected to see it being used to make malware.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So let's talk about the malware itself. What did Jam Threat Labs actually find?
So they found this malware that's disguised as a Minesweeper game, like the classic Minesweeper.
You're kidding.
No, it's called, get this, New Updates in Crypto Exchange.
Wow.
So, you might even mistake it for just a normal app if you weren't paying super close attention.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's so sneaky.
Yeah, and the thing is, they didn't even, build this game from scratch. It's actually a clone of an open source project that's just out there on GitHub.
So they just took and...
Basically.
Wow, that's interesting.
And they've actually seen this before, this whole game thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, another North Korean group called Moonstone Sleet, they used a game as a lure, too.
So it's like they're taking an old trick and...
Yeah, giving it a new spin with this Flutter stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty interesting.
So how are they actually getting this malware out there? Like, how are people downloading this Minesweeper game?
That's actually a bit of a mystery. Jam Threat Labs, they didn't find any info on the distribution methods. So we don't really know if they're using, totally new techniques or relying on some of their old social engineering tactics.
Right. Makes you wonder, right? Like, would you download a game if someone recommended it to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it makes you think twice about what you're clicking on.
It really does. So who are they targeting with this? Do we know?
The specific targets, those are unknown, but we do know North Korean hackers, they tend to go after cryptocurrency businesses,
Right.
decentralized finance, that kind of thing.
Makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of money there.
Exactly. High-value targets.
Yeah. So let's get technical for a minute. How does this malware actually work once it's on someone's computer?
So once it's launched, the game sends a network request. Think of it like a little signal.
Okay.
It goes out to a server, and the server name is, well, it's a bit suspicious.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
It's mupdate.linkpc.net.
Oh, yeah, that does sound...
Yeah, not exactly your typical website name. And basically, the malware then gets instructions from this server written in AppleScript, which AppleScript is a language you can use to automate tasks on Macs.
Right.
But here's the interesting part. The code, when it first comes in, it's actually written backwards.
Backwards?
Yeah, backwards.
Why would they do that?
It's a technique called obfuscation. Basically, it makes the code much harder to understand if you're trying to analyze it.
Right, like it's trying to hide what it's doing.
Exactly, yeah. Like imagine trying to read a book, but all the words are backwards.
Oh, that would be a nightmare.
It would take you ages to figure out what's going on.
Right. Clever, but also very, very sneaky.
Yeah, it's definitely a tactic to make the malware harder to detect and analyze.
So this Minesweeper game, is that the only thing they found?
Actually, no. Jam Threat Labs also found some other variants of the malware.
Oh, really?
Yeah, written in different programming languages. So there's one in Go and another in Python.
Wow, so they're really mixing it up.
Yeah, and these variants, they have similar functionality. They're basically all able to run any AppleScript code that they get from that server.
So it's like they're giving themselves options.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, so to speak.
Right. And it shows that they're really skilled, right? Like they can use all these different languages.
Yeah, it definitely points to a pretty sophisticated operation.
And this whole thing with AppleScript, doesn't that mean they had to bypass Apple's security measures?
So yeah, that's the really concerning part. The apps were actually signed and notarized using stolen Apple developer IDs.
Oh, wow.
So for a time, they were able to slip right past Apple's security checks, which is, not ideal.
Not ideal at all.
No, not at all. But Apple has since revoked those signatures, so they've closed that loophole.
Okay, good. But it's still worrying that they were able to do that in the first place.
Absolutely. It shows that even with these security measures in place, there are still ways for attackers to get through.
So what are the experts saying about all this?
Well, Jaron Bradley, he's the director at Jam Threat Labs.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks this is just the beginning. He said, and I'm quoting here, "We suspect these specific examples are testing."
Testing, so they're just getting started.
Potentially, yeah.
Wow, that's a little scary.
It is, yeah. And Bradley actually went on to explain why they think the hackers are using Flutter. He said, "We suspect it's because the actors discovered that Flutter applications make for great obscurity due to their app architecture once compiled."
So basically, it's hard to figure out what the malware is doing.
Yeah, it's hard to reverse engineer it, analyze it.
Right, makes it a lot harder to defend against.
Exactly.
This whole thing is pretty wild. I
Yeah.
mean, hackers using Flutter, that's not something I would have ever expected.
Yeah, it's definitely a sign that they're constantly evolving, adapting their tactics.
Yeah, and using like everyday tools for malicious purposes, it's
Mhm.
kind of unsettling.
It is. It's a reminder that we need to be vigilant, aware of these evolving threats.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Well, I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about. If something as harmless seeming as Flutter can be used to make malware,
Right,
what else is out there?
right.
You know, what other unexpected threats might be lurking? It's a question worth pondering, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to end on. We need to stay informed, be cautious, and just, keep learning about these evolving threats.
Absolutely. And folks, if you want to stay informed, make sure to subscribe to Lipsat Podcast for more deep dives into the world of cybersecurity. Until next time, stay safe out there
Stay safe.
and keep your devices secure.
Absolutely.
Okay, see ya.
See you later.